Hi, what's up guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel Let's Mobile Development and welcome to the Flutter tutorial series. In the past few videos we have seen that how you can create a few of the design aspects which is really easy to develop and design inside Flutter. So by using Flutter we have seen that how you can create some material dialogues and contents inside, how you can customize those, and also we have seen that how you can create the bottom navigation bar along with the contents, and we have seen that how you can create some list, some grids. So we have covered all these design aspects inside Flutter and in this tutorial series. So it's just a few of them, but in future videos I will also start working or start making tutorial on how you can learn some business logic components, or you can fetch data from by using some HTTP or using or consuming the APIs, and something like that. So in this tutorial series we will complete our series by making this final screen, which is kind of how you can create some customized floating action button, and not only floating action button but you any type of widget you can design a customized design of any kind of widget you want to make. So we will start with this screen. As you can see, we have already covered all of these in my previous videos. So today's we will see how you can create some custom floating action button. So I have already created this my float button, and inside my main dot I have already defined this my float button as a route, and I am already navigating by pressing the index 1 of this list. So custom floating button, if you click on that, I have already created this screen for saving time. And also I have inside that screen it's nothing but just a container, and inside that container we have a column and three flat buttons, and I am using some logic by creating these variables so that you can I can demonstrate you and giving you the idea that how you can create some custom floating action button. So our main focus would be today that to create a folder called widgets. So inside that widget we will create our customized widget. So we want to create some kind of floating button. So let's create a new file. We can call it like fancy floating button dot dot. So we can import material first of all, and after that material dot dot we will create some stateless widget class, and we named it fancy floating button. So the idea is that when I press this button, show custom button, it will show my customized design floating, or you can say fancy floating button here. And I will design that, and I will put some icon inside and text inside. And if I click back floating show original button, it will show the original floating action button which I have already created. So by uh, tapping on show custom button, it will enable these two buttons as well, in which we have show icon, or we can show hide icon on that particular custom design, and we can rotate that button as well. And you can see and you will see that how you can rotate that particular floating action button as well. So let's start. We will use something like you can say raw material button, raw material button. So it has a child property, and for child we will use some padding, and padding has a required property called padding. We'll use const edge insets dot symmetric. So this time we will use symmetric, and I will show you in a bit why I am using symmetric. So symmetric has a property called vertical and horizontal. You can give some padding from vertical point of view and horizontal point of view. So for vertical I am using some 8 padding, giving it 8 as a value, and for horizontal I will give it like 20. So you will understand in a bit why I'm using this. So for padding we have a child property, so we will use that child property and we'll use some row. So the idea is to show this particular kind of button. It will contain some icon and some text to display on that for particular floating action button, and we will create this particular cylindrical type button and we will rotate it as well, so it will display in place of this floating action button and act as a floating action button, but the design is custom. So in various applications you can see that you you have seen this particular kind of floating action button, but sometimes requirements may be different. So you maybe you have a requirement that you have a floating action button, but you have to modify it, like to put some kind of text inside and icon of your own choice. So inside that row we will use main exercise like that, and we will use main exercise dot minimum. Okay, so and for children of these row, what we can show. Okay, so we want to show some icon here first we will display some icon and then text. So quickly create some icon and we will use icons dot, let's say, explore. So it's already been used in the example screen on the screenshot, so I'm using this. So next one I would create is text, and for text widget inside I will use the same text, let's say purchase button. We want to customize that as well. So for style, we give it a text style as a text style widget, and inside that text style we will use color to be colors dot white. So we want to display a white colored text inside that button. If you hit save, and for raw material button we have some other properties as well, like on pressed we can display we can define on press as well, and we have some splash color, fill color, and shape as well. So let me save this and let me use this as a customized floating action button. So in our current screen like this, inside scaffold apart from body we have a floating action button property as well. So I have already made some logic that if we click on this button, so we can toggle that particular floating action button. So floating action button I am already displaying this, and in nulls part I am just displaying a null. So instead of null we will use this particular widget which we are creating right now. So let's say fancy floating button like that, and we will just hit save. And after that if we click on show custom button, you can see we have the button, but it doesn't have any kind of background, or it doesn't have any kind of you know this particular shape. So we will create that shape. Okay, so let's say in our raw material button we will have some other properties. So we will say fill color. So for fill color we will use the same colors dot teal as per our theme of the application, and for splash color we will use colors dot green, let's say, and for shape we will give it a nice shape, and we have already a widget which is called as stadium border. So we can use this stadium border. As soon as I will hit save, you can see we have defined this particular, and on tapping on this you can see a nice effect of a splash color as well, and we have defined that as green. So if you make it yellow, let's suppose put some yellow, hit save, and you can see the splash color is now changed to yellow. So now we will you know refactor our code, like between the icon and text we want to have we want to display some margin. We will use some sized box. Box widget has properties of width and height, so we will use width. So width should be like you can give 8 for now. If you hit save, you can see there is a nice margin between the icon and the text. So apart from that, we need to display okay, so here as you can see in this particular screen, we have all the variables defined already, and we have a rotation value to 0, and we have show icon, hide text, and all that. And by tapping on each of these buttons, like on show icon, what I am displaying is that just toggling that button to hide this particular icon or show this particular icon on my custom floating action button. So let's implement that. So in fancy floating button, we can define its constructor as well, and we can define few of the variables so that we can um, accept the parameters inside our constructor, and we can process those values as well. So let's quickly create this fancy floating button, and we need this like let's suppose first I will define final on pressed button. On pressed would be act as a function, and final rotation will give accept the value of the rotation of that particular button, and finally we will show icon toggle functionality. So we will accept all these parameters. So this dot on pressed, this dot rotation, and this dot show icon. So if you hit save, you can see that it is not prompting us anything. So if you want your um, particular properties to be required, or you can say, because this is our customized design, and if you want the user should enter all these properties or one of these, then you will use something like @required before that particular property. So after you hit save, you can see that there is a warning here, and it says that on press would be required here. So it's really easy, and now we will define all of the three properties we just defined in this particular class as a constructor. So first we will define on pressed. Let's say we will say on pressed, and we will leave it as blank. Let's say we want to print something on tab custom floating button. All right, so next for next two properties we will use rotation, and for rotation we will just pass our rotation variable, because on tap of the rotate button we are just setting the state and incrementing that particular rotation, which has the initial value of 0. So finally we will pass show icon boolean as well as a toggle, so it will show or hide the icon as well. So we have passed all these three values and we have received those as well, and now we will consume that and we will use in the next screen. So first, what we can use for raw material button, we have this particular on press property. So for on press we will just need to pass that on press which we are getting. Okay, so this is the same on press which we were passing before. So after that, for show icon thing, what we can do, inside this row that particular icon is being displayed, so we can put some kind of check here that okay, so before that icon we can say show icon. If we are getting this icon, then we will display, else we will display null, like that. So it's simple check. Okay, it says rows children must not contain any null values. So rather than giving it null, we can say we want to display some text, or we can give it an empty container like so. So as you can see, it by giving it an empty container, it is putting our button, it's kind of a weird looking. So let's give it an empty text rather than empty container, and as you can see we have this particular. Okay, so if we click on the show icon, you can see our icon has been displayed. If we hide the icon like that, so on tapping of the rotation, it is not doing anything because we haven't implemented the rotation functionality yet. So for that, our base widget raw material button, we will wrap this with a new widget, and we call that widget and something like rotation, rotation box maybe, yeah, rotation box. And for that rotation box we have um, quarter turns, quarter turns. Okay, it's not displaying anything. Let me check what is the problem, guys. Okay, rotated box. Okay, so I have written the spelling wrong. It was not rotation box, it is rotated box. So we have quarter turns, and for quarter turns we will just pass the rotation value which we are passing here, and on tap of that rotate we are just incrementing that, because first time it will be 0 and next time it will be 1, and it will rotate something like that. So if we hit save, you can see our purchase button is rotate, because we have already pressed that rotate and its value is increasing by 1. And next, so as you can see it is rotating on all four sides, and if you show the icon it will show exactly on that particular place of rotated box. So this is the idea, that how you can define your custom floating button, or you can define customize widget for your application as well, not only for floating action button but for any kind of design as per the requirement. So this is our last part in this tutorial series, that how you can display the custom floating action button. And now our particular design aspects has been completed. So you can come here in this repository, you can fork that and you can clone or download that and try it on yourself. The code is already been published in this repository. So that is it for today's video, and we will I will come up with some more exciting videos later on. So thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe my channel, and give me some comments in the below, that what kind of more design or what kind of ideas do you have in your mind and you want me to implement those as well. So take care guys, bye bye.